We've all seen the movie The Matrix. It was interesting and fun on the big screen of the TV, but has it become a bit too real in your own life? Are you seeing glitches in the Matrix and trying to figure out what's happening? Have you been told that you've been tricked and that you need to fight against what they've done to you? The deception. Whether you're just beginning to notice, or if you've been searching for a more peaceful and congruent way to live without battling them, you're in the right place. I'm Ken, and I'll be joined by Eliza and Raina Stella. Let's explore together on the Liberty Ark. We are back. I'm Ken, and I'm here with Eliza and Raina Stella on the 26th, is it 26th? Yeah, 26th episode of the Liberty Ark Podcast. And we're going to have, I got to ask you guys, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ken?
Good. Really, really good. Thanks. How about you, Eliza?
Doing super here.
Good.
Yeah, good to see you both.
Good. All right. So we're going through some reading on a book called The Great International Heist that's written by some friends of ours, Rebecca and Jonathan Rodriguez. And at the end of the video, you'll see a way to gather more information from them. We'll talk more about it later a little bit. And we're not really good advertisers, but we'll do the best we can. Mainly, we're here just to learn and enjoy some learning in the process together. So Eliza always does our reading for us, and then we just kind of hang out and talk a little bit about this. So, you ready, Eliza?
Sure am.
Let me see if I can get that page up. There we go.
Wonderful. Episode 26 now. Okay, 1933. The 1933 loss of a domestic gold standard. Calling the 1933-1934 shift away from the gold standard a bankruptcy is not 100% accurate. True bankruptcy happens when someone or business can't pay their debts on time, goes through a court case, gathers up their stuff, and ranks who gets paid first. Then either sells everything or reorganizes under a judge's watch. None of that happened to everyday people or the U.S. government. No court ruled on a government bankruptcy. Instead, it was a big change in money rules and laws. Experts seeking clarity will be heard calling it a monetary regime conversion, where the U.S. switched from money backed by gold you could actually trade in to paper money controlled by the government, called Fiat credit. People at home couldn't get gold anymore, and dollars stopped being like a ticket for gold. They instead became a tool for government plans. This term doesn't suggest anyone went broke. It shows a planned remake of the system. In essence, the rules of money were changed. Essentially, what happened was a domestic gold redemption suspension, which correctly states the legal facts. Regular people couldn't swap dollars for gold anymore. Owning gold was then limited, and the government took all the gold to store at the Treasury. This spells out exactly what the people lost, skipping the overblown broke talk, and refers to what the president ordered. No court needed. Additionally, the phrase sovereign credit consolidation captures the power grab people still seem to sense. The federal government took full control of money, wiped out private gold rights, swapped gold backing for government promises, and became the main money creator. It explains the big shift in who holds the power, aligning with what changed on the money books, and refers to a takeover, not a crash.
So the discussion that we usually have on here is kind of related to what I would call the alternative law world. And you hear a lot of screaming on the internet of complaining about how the system works. And there's all kinds of stuff that always struck me as it had some value, but it wasn't exactly what's actually happening. And one of the things in that world that you hear a lot about is the corporate United States and the bankruptcy. Those are common phrases. And they're kind of true. They represent something that actually occurred, but they're not accurate. So I think it leaves a lot of people with this feeling like these people are lying to me because this doesn't make sense, right? And so we like to clarify it and demonstrate what really occurred, which is problematic, but it's not exactly what most people in the alternative law world are saying, although it's reasonably accurate. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we'll get some clarification on some things today. Does that make sense to you guys, how I define that?
Yes,
Okay.
sure does.
Very much.
Okay.
Very much. It was always confusing to me as well. And until now, seeing the clarity worked out in this book of what really happened, because I was always questioning, how is that like a traditional bankruptcy?
Yeah.
So
And I think
thanks there, Ken.
because we hear it over and over and over again, right? That's what has stuck, that the U.S. corporation is bankrupt or was bankrupt and so forth. And I think that's the clarity we want to bring tonight is that specific quote unquote bankruptcy for all of us.
Yeah. And it kind of leads to our whole thing, which is a lot of people in the alternative law world get convinced of things from a mindset, and they are angry about what they found out, right? And there are issues, clearly, we're not saying there's not, but anger is not useful to work through it, right? And when you really understand what's happened and that there are what we call remedies for what happened, anger doesn't fit into that. You can go to peace and resolve what you're trying to resolve without allowing the system to whip up your energy and emotions. And to me, this is what I call sovereignty, taking your life back, but you don't have to be angry at anybody because you're giving your life away when you're allowing them to make you angry.
And Ken, to add to that, though, just for clarity, I mean, there was reason to be angry back then.
Oh, yeah.
And even today, right? And that's what we're trying to point out from episode 1 onward is the fact that as soon as you become aware and you gain the knowledge of the remedies that were provided to us when this took place, that's when we can actually understand and come to peace. It's the fact that we don't know about these is what keeps us in that angry mode.
Yeah. And
when you realize it, that's when...
And there's kind of like 3 categories, I think. The one over here is the people that have no idea any of this has even occurred, right? So they're not even aware. If we said, and that creates a lot of battles between people, right? Because as people begin to become aware of what's happened and they start explaining it as a bankruptcy and they did stuff to you and stuff and become angry, they use those words to these people over here that have no idea what even happened, and they think you're a complete lunatic. What do you mean corporate United States? What do you mean bankruptcy? You're a lunatic, right? So you've got these two, and we're kind of the weirdo over here going, yeah, that's kind of happened, but it's not exactly the right way to say it, and getting angry about it isn't a resolution. And if you really understood what happened, you don't need to get angry. It's not useful, and there's a better way. Cool.
Exactly. Nicely put, both of you. And it's just to point out here, a point is made here to say it was a domestic kind of, reset of the money system. Because on an international level, gold was still, transactable when it came to treasuries. Treasuries could be claimed country to country. Right?
Yeah.
So we're saying it's the people, the people at home, the individuals, where the reason the gold was basically taken, that people had to turn in their gold, is a way had to be found to force people to then utilize the fiat system. And that's why people felt cheated. But the remedy that was forced to be provided, I believe through the Supreme Court, was that discharge must be provided. And that's a big topic that we'll go into later, but that's our remedy.
Mm-hmm. So we've kind of gone through some of this history on other podcasts, but I'm going to run through a really brief update just if somebody just pops onto this one and isn't aware. So prior to 1933, our money, our dollar here was backed up by gold. And people could transact in gold. People could hold gold at their houses and so forth, right? Gold was recognized as the value. In 33, because of the war and this, that, and the other, and the government had to find a way to steal your gold, is basically what it came down to. They created this new system and then put out an edict that you had to turn your gold in and they would pay you for it. Okay. They didn't pay you well for it, but they did pay you for it. So a lot of people turned in their gold, and then it actually became illegal for citizens of the U.S. to own gold physically at home, right? Before, that paper, you transacted in paper, but that paper you could take to the bank and they would trade it back in for the gold that it represents. So it talks in here something about gold as a ticket. That's what it was back then. Your dollar was actually a coat check ticket that you could turn into the bank and get gold back because there was a real transactable use for it. But from 33, not only that couldn't happen, but you weren't even legally allowed to hold gold in your home. And that went on for a very long time. It wasn't until, 70-something that
71.
Yeah. That we were given the right to own gold at home, but the backing of the dollar was no longer gold. It was no longer anything. It's effectively...
even internationally, even from a treasury standpoint, right?
Exactly, yeah. So anyway, that's just the brief background for this. So when you hear that the bankruptcy of the United States, it wasn't an actual, when you do a bankrupt, only individuals can do bankruptcies and businesses can do bankruptcies. Governments can't because governments make the money. You can't go broke when you can just make more money on your own, create it on your own, right? They just do a ledger entry and boop, now we've got money. Right? There's no backing for it. So it's impossible for them to go belly up because they just make more, right? We can't do that. So we can go belly up. Okay. And an actual bankruptcy requires filing paperwork. A judge makes a decision. The paperwork's on file. Everybody that tells you that the corporate United States went bankrupt cannot show you a filing ever having occurred. And there's no judge that could even do that for a government. Okay. So just for clarity, it's effectively a bankruptcy, but it's not a real bankruptcy. Okay?
Great explanation. Thank you.
Okay. So, and that's really what that's saying. There was no government ruled bankruptcy. Instead, it was a big change in the rules and laws of money. What they call money, which is fake money. Right? Brandon, Estelle, you got anything to say on this one, or are we going to the next one?
We could go on to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. And it will say currency versus money. That's another discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But, what we have is fiat currency. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got thoughts on this one?
Not specifically on that, but I'll just ask a question because we had to throw this in. So as you explained, right, back in 1933. So who has the most influence over money / currency, right? The one who holds the gold or the one who creates the currency?
Okay, say the question again. I want to make sure I understand the actual question.
So we know who has the most influence, but who has the most influence over money? The one who holds gold or the one who creates the currency?
Well, the currency is fake money. So the government has 100% control over the fake money.
Yeah.
They can just print more and more.
Yeah.
That's why they can make it worth nothing by just making more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry. I thought you
I threw that question in just because Eliza did mention And we'll go over money versus currency because
Right.
that's just a conversation on its own. I think it's also important for us to, touch on that a little bit, the money versus currency, right? So
it's
just a curveball.
It's a big topic. But I think it's like the currency. The currency is the agreed upon mode of exchange, right?
Right.
Currency you can name gold.
Mhm.
You can name real money as the currency, right? But in general, in today's world, all the countries that followed suit to use this system after the U.S. did, what they named as the currency was fiat. Okay, so what we have is a fiat currency system. We don't have a money or asset-backed currency system,
right?
Unfortunately.
So there's no inherent value to a dollar, right? There's a perceived value. People are willing to trade you stuff for it, but that piece of paper in your hand has no inherent value on it, right? As long as we agree to that value, it has value. The problem is, and the reason that governments like fiat currency is because they can make more. It's effectively counterfeiting, right? But it's legal counterfeiting. If they don't need your tax money because they can just print more, right? There's no reason to create taxes except for to keep the people down, right? Because the government does not need your money. They create money out of nothing by making a journal entry. And if they need money, all they got to do is create some more, right? Yeah. But when they do that, what's that do to the value or the utilizable value, shall I say, of the money in your pocket, of the currency in your pocket, right? They make more of it, and so it takes more to buy the same thing, which we call inflation, which is a tax, right? It's not a tax you take money out of your pocket and pay. It's a tax that is imposed upon you because you can buy less stuff with the currency that's in your pocket.
It's an invisible tax per se.
And they do it through counterfeiting.
And most people do say money. When in this day and age, when people say money, you know what they're really talking about is fiat currency.
Right.
We all know our good friend Mike Maloney, who talks about gold and money, etc. And he would come down hard to correct anyone who's confusing money with currency. But colloquially, we say money and what we mean, and very few people, really understand it as they're talking about fiat currency.
Yeah, I mean the economists,
and that can just be invented.
Yeah, the economists always use the phrase "the money supply." Well, that's the currency supply, is what it is. It's not the money supply. You can't. The governments can't make gold or silver, right? It is, but they can make paper. Yeah. They can make digits.
So the real money is gold, silver, and the currency that we call money is the fiat, the paper.
Yeah. Yeah. They can't print gold and silver, but they can. But we used to say print, but now it's all digital.
Right.
We used to say,
we should just either way it is. It's all counterfeiting. So whether it's digital counterfeiting or printing counterfeiting, it's still counterfeiting. You're just creating something out of nothing, and that's counterfeiting. If you did it in your basement, it would be called counterfeiting. But they've given themselves legal immunity for counterfeiting is really what it comes down to. But counterfeiting just reduces the value of your ability to trade that thing for whatever you want. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, so Eliza, you have a real good comprehension of how this happened. Can you kind of summarize that one, the domestic gold redemption suspension?
Yeah, what we're talking about in this whole podcast is not the international system that was revamped, because we say domestic because internationally treasuries if other countries held treasuries, they could still redeem them for gold, right, until 1971. But in this particular case, we're talking about the regular folks. You know, you and I, they had to force a way so that we would redeem it. We would start utilizing and spending, transacting in fiat currency. They had to force it. And if we still held gold and silver, well, in this case, it was just gold, people wouldn't have done that. So they pushed it. And that's why they not only had people turn in their gold, but made it illegal for, basically, as, Ken spelled out, that U.S. citizens could no longer legally hold gold. It's crazy.
Yep.
So this is where what it was enacted by, because we were now we've discussed this in previous podcasts, we were under an administrative government. So the president operated, by executive order, right? This was all by executive order. So no courts were needed here.
And that's what leads to the alternative law community calling this changeover the corporate U.S., right? That administrative aspect basically took us out of a true representative government, which is what we were supposed to be, not a corporate democracy, right? And so people call it the corporate United States, but it's not like there was a true switch over to a corporate status. Does that make sense? So again, that's one of those things we like to clarify with people. It's as if they switched over to a corporation because it became administrative control with a bunch of three-letter agencies and so forth that make rules that don't go through the normal legislature process of passing that the republic under the Constitution was designed to do. So the Constitution's still there, but there's just gobs of stuff that's done that's not the way the Constitution defined it. Put it that way. Okay. All right.
Great clarification.
So there's anybody got anything on this one? And you know what? We're going to make 20 minutes again today. We're getting really good. We're trying to
That's awesome.
We're trying to accomplish things to where we don't overwhelm folks with too long a discussion. So we're doing well.
The only question
the
only question that I would have is the impact, of course, when this took place, right? Like I imagine and envision there was a lot of people, aside of course, holding gold where they were forced, of course, to turn it in and so forth, even people that had contracts with other entities, how impactful that was, right? It's just, I'm trying to wrap my brain around such a switch, right? Of such a transformation took place. The impact, not just on the individual, but just
massive
things we had already out there. Yes.
Or people forcing, right. in gold. That's what people would have done. They had to remove that from the system. It's like if they, wanted everyone to transact in coffee beans, but they're used to transacting in corn. They had to get rid of the corn to force people to transact in coffee beans. But in this case, really explains that what we've been saying this last sentence, that this was a takeover of the monetary system.
Yep. And a movement of a transition, purposeful transition of wealth from the normal population to the people that control the printing presses.
Yeah.
Which leads to exactly what we've been talking through the whole way, is the control and the power that's maintained over us, the effective slaves, because of the money system. That's the base of it all.
Yeah.
Wild.
And 209 countries have adopted this fiat system. And so that's where I go back to the title of this book. It's The Great International Heist. Well said.
But they have to be able to do it without letting you know what they did. Right?
Wink.
That just sounds too familiar with things that happen today, right? It's like, because you find it's amazing also how, and I understand that it's planned and it's, it doesn't happen from one day to the next, but it just seems that it was like they closed the banks for 4 days and then the new system is here, right? It's like, how in the world can they do it so quick on us,
and
right?
it was all prepped and ready, right? They run all the operations necessary to get the psychology of the people to accept it, and then boom, it can just happen because the preparation has already been done.
All too familiar.
Yep. And it works. I mean, it works over and over and over because the controllers understand human psychology and they utilize it, right? And they run the same playbook over and over and over, and it works every time.
And this is why we need to continue talking about this. We
right.
need to,
Yes.
because we have to step into that playbook and make sure that we're not, surprised.
And so that you can utilize the playbook for yourself rather than having it be used against you. So,
that's right.
Remedy.
Yes, exactly.
Remedy. That's the word.
That's
Remedy.
the word. Yes. We'll get deeper and deeper into that. So I'm going to cut it off now because we're at 20 minutes. We did really, really good. And I think that's enough for everybody to digest for today. Hopefully that clarifies some things to folks, because I know I spent years saying what I'm being told can't be right. Something's weird under it, but I don't think it's actually accurate what I'm being told. I just don't know what is. I know it's not, but I don't know what is. And now we've gathered a pretty good understanding of what actually occurred, which is not all that dramatically different than what we're told, but I think it's important to utilize words and meanings. Otherwise, you say stuff and people that don't have any idea just say you're nuts. They don't pay any attention to you at all.
And to add to that, Ken, I mean, we did talk about how important it is to know the meaning of words that we are using. So
absolutely.
It just backs that up as well. So.
Yep, absolutely. Any last words from you guys?
No, loved it.
No, I think this was a great session, great clarity, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Too.
Short, sweet, simple.
Yep, absolutely. And listen to the end of the video tonight, and there'll be a little bit of information about White Rabbit, which is a business that Rebecca and Jonathan run, where deeper teaching can be done on this information that really gives you those remedies and so forth. We have to be a little bit careful about how deep we go into the teaching of it on the social media channels and so forth. But privately, we can get deeper into things, and that'll show you one way that you can participate if you choose to. All right, I'm going to end it unless you guys have something else to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Love
have
you
a
both.
great night.
See you next time.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
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 The views expressed in this Liberty Ark podcast are for informational and educational purposes only. They do not constitute legal or tax advice, and they may not reflect the official positions of anyone at all, really. We want to express our appreciation to the authors of the unpublished manuscript titled The Great International Heist, on which the Liberty Ark podcast is based. Rebecca and Jonathan Rodriguez, the authors, provide courses that go into much greater depth and are available at libertyarkpodcast.com/White Rabbit.